You guys have been asking for it, and we thought, you know what? It's time. It's time. It's time to bring it back. We are looking at Dynasty teams today, and we're going to try and help rebuild one of these teams that is in shambles.
Come on.
So do us a favor, drop a like to show some support, subscribe if you like Dynasty content, and I want you to comment down below what moves you would make for this team as we go through each position. So what I did is I went over on our Discord, Badake, and I said, hey guys, we're going to bring back the series, like put some teams through. We want to find one that's just an absolute shambles. I think we found one, but I think the story is actually really cool behind it as well. And so the team that we chose was from Mitchw. Shout out to Mitchw. It's a 12-team Superflex PPR format, but I think the context was just kind of hit home a little bit because fantasy it's so much bigger than just a game. You know, there is community there, and the context is this was a good friend's team in our league. Unfortunately, he passed away, and now our other buddy is going to take it over. He's very confused as to what to do with this abomination of a roster that seemingly has no direction. He had Brady as his quarterback one in a Superflex league. This team is dedicated to him now, and Michael Carter, who helped him win the league last season.
Wow.
Firstly, I don't know about you, dude, but I was looking at this team and I was thinking, how the hell did this team win the league last year?
As Michael Carter, baby, talk it up. My guy, the X Factor.
Michael Carter was not good to end the season. I do not know how this team won,
He did something.
But they won. But before we start, just want to say our prayers and condolences do go out to the family and the friends of this individual who passed away. Obviously, he was your guys' friend, so we do wish everyone the best. And just hoping that, you know, good things are going to be ahead for everyone involved. Just praying for everyone involved. And so let's try our best to kind of help this team out here.
Yeah, let's do it.
So let's look at the quarterback position first.
There is no one here as a quarterback, and this is a super flex team. Obviously, you can probably see it on your screen. 2 quarterbacks.
It's rough.
It's not okay. So there's some options. There's some options that he can do.
So you got Malik Willis. He's worth holding on to. Let's just start there. He's worth holding on to. Is he ever going to be a starter in the NFL? Right now, it looks quite unlikely that will ever happen. But he's worth holding on to. And your benches, by the way, that's what I was going to say to start. What is up with these benches? I mean, you're starting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you're starting 10, but you have, I think, almost 20 bench spots. Is that correct? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 bench spots.
Yeah.
I mean, the waiver wire in this league has got to be completely naked. There's got to be nothing on this waiver wire.
Completely naked.
So,
I mean, for sure.
My suggestion would just be cut the benches at least to 15, if not 12, right? Make your benches 12. Actually, make your benches at least 12 to 14, somewhere around there, and then add 4 taxi spots, okay?
Yeah.
Because you don't have taxi spots in this league. Add 4 taxi spots, cut off some of the bench, make the waiver wire a little bit more active. That's going to make the league more fun in the offseason. You know, when free agency happens and Fab opens up and people can make bids, you want the waiver wire to be active. By the way, guys, a lot of people have been asking us, like, hey, can I donate something and then get my team graded?
Oh.
It's not a perfect system.
No.
So what we're going to try out, YouTube has a super thanks option in the comment section of this video. So if you want your team to be graded, all we're going to do is whoever donates the most on this video, they will be the next team that we grade. I know it's not a perfect system. We don't know how to do it. We certainly can't grade everyone's teams, but it's just something we wanted to try out. We wanted to trial it. If it's not a good idea, let us know. It's not a good idea. But so whoever has the highest donation in the comments, we're going to connect with you over on Discord, and we're going to grade your team next. So all love. Quarterback's rough, man. I mean, Tom Brady's gone because he retired. I have some ideas, as I'm sure you do. But I think this is the biggest weakness of this team is the quarterback room, where we're starting off. You muted yourself. But
I did mute myself. It's okay. It is the biggest weakness here for the team, but I think there is good opportunity and moves that you can make.
Agreed.
To improve your team.
I'm looking at it on my phone, by the way, just so you guys know why I'm looking down. I'm just looking at the team on my phone.
I'll kind of bring in my thought process here of what you can do. And I think the easiest way to go about acquiring a quarterback is going through the draft, right?
Agreed.
I mean, you have the 101, the 103, the 104.
Yeah.
Can you get a CJ and a Bryce? Can you get a CJ and an Anthony Richardson or Will Levis or Bryce Young? Whichever scenario you want to go, however way you want to build your team, you can go that way possibly. You can also do it at the 101, but we don't suggest that you go for a quarterback at the 101. I think Bijan, with the context that, he doesn't necessarily know what to do. And if you're thinking of getting a quarterback at the 101, that'll probably be the wrong move. You still
go Bijan.
Yeah, you still have to go Bijan.
Let me pose something. I'm on board with the 103. Go Bryce or CJ, whoever's available. I like that. The next thing I would do with that 104, I think it's more important that we get a second quarterback here with one of those rookies than get a JSN or get a Gibbs. I think it's more important right now to try and get those two pillars for this team in a Superflex league. So I would propose with the 104, I want to see what kind of quarterbacks I can get with this pick. What's available to me in the trade market. According to Keep Trade Cut, it's not perfect, but it is a source of community rankings. You can get Deshaun Watson right now for the 104. That is a deal that is at least something that you can consider, you can start, and all of a sudden you go from having no quarterbacks to having one of our favorite rookie quarterbacks and a player that we like to buy low right now in Deshaun Watson. So right. I like that. I think that's a good option. I also think you could look at Kyler Murray there. You might have to add like your 210 to get that deal done. I would prefer Watson right now with this team because we have none of our 24 picks. I don't know if you noticed that. We have none of our 24 picks. So ideally, we are going to try and compete this year because there's really no reason for us to try and tank next season. So ideally, Watson over Murray, and I think it will cost less. The other option that I thought of was, what about Jordan Love?
Yes.
Go trade for Jordan Love. Apparently, the 207 and let's just say a player like Deonta Foreman or someone of similar value. Apparently, that's a trade that you can go get done. I would look at doing that, Badake. I would look at doing that right now as soon as possible before any news comes out. And that could be a really good buy low. I also think you could do that same trade for a Derek Carr, a Geno Smith, maybe get one of those guys and buy low.
I would say the one that I had on my list that I was going to bring was Russell Wilson.
I love it. I was going to go there as well. So he
also can, you can also get him for the 201. There's a gap there where it's the 111 and then the 202-ish. So when you have the 201 here, there is a window. I know somebody's still probably going to want a first round pick, but go with the conversation like, hey man, this guy's 34 years old. If you even go to according to Keep Trade Cut, if you put in the 201, it's even value. So that would be a perfect way to even start that conversation with somebody and say, hey, give me Russell Wilson, Sean Payton, Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, Javonte Williams there. So that can be a really good start for your team.
I love the Russell Wilson take, and I'm all aboard that. I would even be okay with doing the 201 and like a future third or a player of equal value. Like if I had to do the 201 and Michael Carter, I'm doing that. If I had to do the 201 and Madison or, those are deals that I think you can make happen. One last idea, and this is like the biggest buy low I could think of for you. How about Sam Howell? We think he's going to be the starter, and I kind of trust what Ron is saying. He's at minimum, they're not going to go for a quarterback in free agency. They could do it in the draft, but they seem pretty all in on just letting Sam Howell, hey, here's the keys to the kingdom for a year. Let's see what happens.
Right.
Go send that 210 for Sam Howell right now. And so those are some trades that I think, hey, if Sam Howell doesn't work out, okay, you lost a late second. If he does, you just like biggest risk reward trade that you could think of. So those were some of the deals that I wanted to send out. I wanted to give him a lot of options because I think that's the biggest weakness on the team. Is there any other deals that you wanted to discuss before we move on to the running back position?
No, quarterbacks, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. You can I would just say two more things that you could potentially do as a gap. Depending on the value, a Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, if you want to really take the risk. But, you can, like Zach said, maybe the 201, throw in someone like a Michael Carter, throw in somebody maybe a little bit more valuable like an AJ Dillon,
Sure.
a Jamal Williams to try to get a Trey Lance, something along those lines. If somebody is still really hesitant on Trey Lance, but I think other than that,
Or Kenny Pickett.
I will also say Geno Smith as well.
Yeah, I talked about him earlier. You could do a Geno Smith for like a 207 and a Deonta Foreman.
Yeah, I think after that, there's either get those bottom of the middle tier guys ish, or you go for that superstar like Deshaun Watson or Kyler Murray. So I agree with you.
Yeah. All right, cool. So hopefully that helps. Let's move on to the running back spot. I mean, DeAndre Swift, David Montgomery, Dameon Pierce, Jamal Williams, AJ Dillon, Deonta Foreman, Khalil Herbert. It's a pretty good running back room.
It is.
I would say there's not really like that absolute stud superstar. And I personally, and I know you would agree, I think we would suggest to draft Bijan Robinson with the 101. This is a team, again, you don't have any picks in 2024. There's no reason for you to not draft Bijan and try and compete this year. So I think we would both suggest to draft Bijan Robinson with that 101. I think specifically players that I want to keep, because I'm going to suggest to sell some of these players.
Yes.
And I've been suggesting to sell running backs all off season.
It's hard to buy running backs right now as well, by the way.
Sure.
Just to keep that in mind.
I want to keep the following two specifically. David Montgomery, which I've talked about, because I think his value could rise during free agency. And I don't think he's worth trading right now, because you're not going to get anything worth value. Jamal Williams. Those are the two that I want to keep. If Jamal Williams comes back, he could retain the similar role he had this year. And he's like the heart and soul of that running back room. I feel like he will be back. He's like ideal for MCDC over there. So those two guys, I think their value could rise after free agency. It's risky, of course, but yeah, I would say draft Bijan with the 101. And then I had a couple ideas to sell players, but I'm curious where your head is here.
For me, I did have two other people on this list, and I really like the thought process of keeping DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams. You have that Detroit backfield, so if Jamal does walk or Swift does walk, vice versa, you have somebody that's going to be the lead back if they don't draft somebody, right? I think that is already good. You locked up that backfield. Dameon Pierce is another guy I am okay with keeping, because if they do, there is a chance that they are going to invest in somebody. But I think they have to go in a lot of other different places for them to solidify this team, right?
Well, why don't we put a price tag on him then? If you can get from the 110 to the 112, are you taking that deal? Any one of those picks this year?
For Dameon Pierce, yes.
Okay, agreed. I agree. I just want to know where the price tag is. We would prefer the 110 to the 112 over Dameon Pierce.
Yes.
Otherwise, maybe keep him.
I completely agree. So those would be the and Monty. Sorry, so I didn't say Monty. So Swift, Jamal Williams, I'm keeping. David Montgomery and Dameon Pierce, I'm really happy to keep and try to build on, in the belief that their situation is not going to be changing drastically. So that's my thought process.
All right, so I had a couple ideas to sell players.
Yeah, I do have a couple as well.
One in particular was AJ Dillon. Right now, you can get around the 203 to the 204.
Yes, that's exactly.
At this point, I really like the running backs that are available at the 204. They might not. I don't think they're going to be as talented as AJ Dillon, but it's really difficult to see AJ Dillon breaking out, especially now that Aaron Jones. It's already been reported that he's going to restructure and stay. So I think I'm willing to move AJ Dillon for like the 203 or the 204.
Exactly, and that's exactly where I was going to go. Get somebody like AJ, or sell AJ Dillon, and then get a younger piece that you can build on. And even if you don't want to go in the running back room, there's still really good wide receivers you can get, which we can talk about a little bit later. But a Zay Flowers, a Josh Downs, and Xavier Hutchinson, if they are and they do get the draft capital that we want, I think their pathway to success feels a little bit more comfortable than where AJ Dillon's at right now.
Yeah, no, I would tend to agree with you there. Okay, moving on. Well, not moving on, but I just want to say other players that it's probably obvious, but I think you can look to sell. Hilliard, Eno Benjamin, Michael Carter, Deonta Foreman, Alexander Madison. Maybe Madison is a good hold because there is potential for him to be a gem of the free agency class. But all those other guys I feel pretty comfortable to kind of move on from personally.
Yeah, I would agree. One thing I forgot to say actually was, you've locked up two backfields, by the way, which is Detroit and Chicago. Monty is a free agent, but he could potentially be moving. But if Khalil Herbert does have an opportunity, and if they don't draft somebody, be quick to sell him for how high he can go. So just be ready for those scenarios to switch and say, hey, Khalil Herbert is a starting running back. He could be a top 25 running back hypothetically. You sell him immediately, because once that happens, that value is going to drop after, I would say, the first 5 games in the season. So just be quick on those moves.
Let me just say one more idea that I had, and I know we probably don't agree on this one, but you and I have been a little bit on opposite sides with DeAndre Swift this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so sure that it really happens for him at this point of his career.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm concerned. I'm concerned that we might miss an opportunity to sell high. He's a top 10 dynasty running back right now, according to the community. Every year he's not been healthy. And even this year, when he ended up being healthy at the end of the season, they had a successful offense, and it did not include featuring him anymore.
Right.
So I am personally on board to try and sell DeAndre Swift. And we might see that differently. But what if I can guarantee Jahmyr Gibbs? What if I can send DeAndre Swift in the 210 and get the 105? Just an idea that I wanted to throw out. If you can go ahead and get that pick, and then you can maybe, I mean, if it's JSN, it's JSN, great. You still got an absolute superstar. If it's Jahmyr Gibbs, it's Jahmyr Gibbs, great. But you give yourself a lot of flexibility after free agency. Like that move and the moves I'm trying to say really set you up well for flexibility after free agency and after the draft to make moves that you need to move to fill out the roster. So I just want to throw that one out there.
That's fair. I think it can definitely happen. And I think if both Swift and Jamal stay, I think you're still also in a good spot. I think that's two sides of the coin. If you don't believe in Swift, do what Zach's saying. If you do believe in Swift and say, hey, Jamal Williams is staying, at least you have to do one. Maybe you can sell both of them as a pair later on down the road. So I see both scenarios.
All right, let's move on to the wide receiver room. DJ Moore, Brandon Ayuk, Deontay Johnson. That's a good trio. That's a good group. Mm-hmm. Certainly not a superstar crew by any means, right? No. But all nice players with situational upside. I would say Juju's worth holding.
Yes.
If he gets a 2 to 3 year deal with Kansas City, his value could absolutely skyrocket.
Agreed.
And then you could sell him, right? I think, are we on the same page?
Yes.
If he gets that deal, you sell him?
Yes. If he does get the deal, you send him away. Please.
And then there are some wide receivers that have untapped potential that I'd like to hold. And I know you would agree with a couple of these. Elijah Moore, Alec Pierce, Kyle Phillips.
Yeah, exactly. So that's exactly where I would be going. I would be keeping them. And
just not worth selling.
And keep in mind that you have 3 wide receivers to start and you have 2 bench spots. So that, if you don't know, we do like to start wide receivers in our flex spots. So essentially you should be trying to acquire as many wide receivers as you possibly can in this scenario. 5 wide receivers that can change your game and has some really good high upside will be perfect here for you. So
great.
Yeah, there's a couple different scenarios, but I don't think you can really move on from any of these guys, or you can pivot. I don't know if you have any ideas of pivoting. I think there's more of pivot moves than actually selling to acquire either draft picks or kind of tearing up. I think it's hard. I had more
like other alternative ideas to what to do with those draft picks. So like for the 104, for example, if you can't end up trading for a quarterback, that's okay. Draft JSN. In my opinion, he can be that cornerstone wide receiver for your dynasty team. At the 201, if you aren't able to get Russell Wilson, for example, well, maybe you could look at drafting a Zay Flowers, a Josh Downs, a Kayshon Boutte if they get decent draft capital. Hopefully you can sell some of those running backs and have draft capital to kind of play around with when it comes to the rookie draft, either drafting wide receivers or trading for them with the draft capital that you acquired for those running backs. But like when the dust clears, so like if Jamal goes back to Detroit, and you end up moving on from Swift, well, you could get good value for him to try and find a wide receiver of equal value. If Herbert gets a starting opportunity, you can find a good wide receiver that could be a starter there. Not a superstar, but a starter. If Alexander Madison goes somewhere nice, or Deontay Foreman, so I think there are moves you can make now, but I think you need to make moves in your running back room and your quarterback room first. And then with whatever does not work out, you use the draft capital and trade market for running backs to kind of fill out the rest of this room is how I was looking at it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think I wasn't planning on moving any wide receivers. I'm really happy to keep them. But I think
there was 3 that I named, but I don't think you're going to get much for them.
Exactly. I don't think you're going to get much. And there is one scenario I wanted to bring for some of these guys. If you wanted to say, okay, I'm just going to scrap 2023 and I'm trying to invest and maybe to try and get some of these 24 picks back. Right now, according to Keep Trade Cut, you can get sell Deontay Johnson for a late 24 first. And I feel like if that is projected towards a late 24 first, feels like your chances could be higher that it moving up a little bit. So you're selling Deontay Johnson, okay, your window is the 110 to the 112. Well, your chances is actually higher for it to be even hot to be there. But is anyone going to do that? I think that's the biggest question.
Sure.
And I think that can be said for everyone here, whether it's Brandon Ayuk, DJ Moore, and etc. So that would probably be something I would say. Maybe shop around, see what you can get for some of these wide receivers. And if you're okay with scrapping the 2023 season and saying, you know what, I'm going to rebuild again and continue to rebuild, have a 2-year rebuild, then you can kind of go with that thought process.
Sure. The only reason I struggle with it is because like DJ Moore, Deontay Johnson, it's actually funny when you look at this team. Those were like my biggest sells last offseason. I was like, sell DJ Moore, sell Deontay.
Right.
But now I feel like their value's in a place where I'm not sure it's worth selling. But and then we're talking about trying to compete right now because we don't have any picks in 2024. You could cash in on the value of Deontay. I just think it might stop us from competing unless you use that pick to go out and get a different wide receiver that you like more this year, which is possible. So those wide receivers, by the way, that I would say you can move, but you're probably not going to get any value. Justin Watson, Tim Patrick, Nelson Aguilar. I mean, if you can get a third for any of them, if you can get a third for all of them,
right?
Like,
yeah, that makes sense.
Any other moves you want to talk about before we move to the tight end spot?
No. Okay. I feel pretty confident in what we said.
So the tight end room is good. I think it's a strong suit, right? Running backs and tight ends are the strong suit of this team.
Yeah.
Dulcich is going to be your starter in 2023. Keep him. Gesicki, I've talked about him as a buy low because I think he could land somewhere in free agency. Think about this for a second with Gesicki. What is the 2023 free agency class missing?
What are they missing? Running backs?
They have a lot of running backs.
The 2023 free agency class. Sorry, tight ends.
Well, I was going to say they're missing wide receivers.
Okay.
They're missing wide receivers. And Gesicki is a very good receiving tight end. So what I was trying to kind of allude to was I feel like a team could look to address like needing a receiving option with Gesicki in free agency.
Okay.
So I think he's actually in a good spot right now, basically. I think he's in a good spot where his value could rise. So I would keep him. Jake Ferguson, we heard a report today, which I tweeted out about, that he is probably going to be, Dalton Schultz is unlikely to be franchise tagged, which means they might move on from him. Jake Ferguson could step in. Mm-hmm. Isaiah Likely, honestly, I think I would sell him for like a second if I could get it, because you already have so many tight ends. I just don't think you need Isaiah Likely. If I can get a second, like a 206, 208, somewhere around there, I would sell Likely so you can have some more flexibility with the rest of your roster. But those are the only things I was going to say.
Yeah, I would say I would agree with you with Mike Gesicki. I'm definitely keeping him. I'm selling Isaiah Likely, excuse me, because Mike Gesicki, think of the landscape kind of like what Zach was alluding to. Could he go to Dallas? Could he go to a team that really needs a tight end? I'm trying to think of teams that need a tight end. I mean, does he go to the Jags if they don't want to pay Evan Ingram? Does he go to, Vegas if they move on from Darren Waller? Like, there's so many opportunities and so many teams that he can. Does he go to the Giants? Yeah, does he go to the Giants and takes over that Daniel Bellinger role? So there's so many opportunities for Mike Gesicki to come in and have a workload, an uptick in production, and not be overshadowed by a Jalen Waddle and a Tyreek Hill. So I can definitely see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, even something like, what if he goes to the Saints and he's like the second receiving option behind Olave? Someone is going to use him, I think, this offseason to fix a problem. I'm not saying it will fix their problem, but I think they'll see him as a solution, which could mean fantasy value.
Agreed.
Okay. Well, I gave this team overall a C+.
I gave it a C minus.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the plus is maybe generous. I genuinely cannot understand how this team won a championship last year. I don't understand.
I think maybe some trades happened. I would imagine trades happened before. I mean, remember, Deontay Johnson, second half of the season was coming about. I don't.
He scored a touchdown the entire year.
I know, but he was getting the targets at the end, wasn't he? You know, it was little.
He got targets all year. I don't know.
I mean, I'm just surprised.
I'm happy for the person.
Jamal Williams was definitely a league winner.
Fair.
Damian Pierce wasn't because he was hurt, right?
Yeah.
You know, so like I just don't know. I think there was definitely players moved before we've gotten this team. So very interesting.
All right. Well, I hope this helps.
Hopefully.
And yeah, I hope this helps. Best of luck in the future. Let us know if you get some of these deals done. Go ahead and drop a like to show some support. Subscribe if you like Dynasty content. And we'll see you guys in the next one very soon. All love.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos,
watch it.
You can also subscribe
right now
if you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/fantasylandfam.